something away that's of value that can be replicated without a lot of direct touch, which means it's usually hard to do that in a services business. Doesn't mean it hasn't been done. There's lots of examples where it has been done. But I would say a really good first step for the caller would be for you to think about, if you're overwhelmed right now because part of what makes it work is how much you have to actually be personally involved in it all, solve that one first. Figure out how to build a management structure where you actually have the right load, because as soon as you can solve that, then you can actually take that mini model of remote management and see if it's franchisable. But if you're still touching it all, if part of why you're overwhelmed, which is often what I hear in services industries, then I think what you have to do first is figure out how to be a little more detached and have it work before I think you can make as big a step.
If that's the situation, then adding franchising will make you worse off than you were. You'll be more tired than you were.
Mark, do you find that, for lack of a better description, the type A personality, the person who is a micromanager, impedes growth in companies because they can't let go and can't delegate?
I'd say no question. I think one of the hardest things that founders suffer from is the ability to bring in a management team and actually delegate. And that's why I find actually having mentors, having coaches, having venture capitalists actually can help founders, because they need the coaching required to allow them to step up to the next level and bring in a management layer beneath them. And I think that's something that does impede growth in a lot of companies.
Does this sound like a business that would franchise? Because John says we're kind of shaking our heads here, no.
Yeah, I have to vote with the panel. I think you've assembled some pretty smart people there. I think the advice they've given is very practical. This is a growth equity problem. If you want to be able to take it from a regional business to a national business, I'm not sure franchising this particular business is the right idea. I would also say in this era, in 2009, the people who have franchised in the past probably are in the retail environment. They're probably hurting a bit. They probably have had their personal portfolios affected a bit. And I think people willing to put upfront money into a franchise right now and expanding this may be a difficult ask. I would look more at trying to grow your existing business.
We have to remind Cindy that if she's built a successful business at one of the toughest businesses in the world, she is a hero. And so it isn't necessary that everybody turns out to be Google or Walmart. You've got a great, great business there. Make your life better, make the business work better, bring in help where you can. But you are a winner already.
Yeah, if you work in Chicago, I have stores there and would love to get your card if you do it for professional environments as well. It's very difficult to find really predictable, great service partners in the cleaning industry.
Allie, before we go to a break, I just want, because again, we were talking in the last break, I mean, you've done this, did not, wasn't handed to you on a silver platter. I mean, you've gotten several graduate degrees, and you said that you were the first generation of your family to go away to college. You described yourself as a small-town girl from Montana.
I am. I mean, I'd like to think that, you know, I'm an example of the American dream in that you do most of it through tenacity. And I had great examples in parents who were just big-hearted people that didn't come with a big focus on pedigree, but were very, very committed to do things that turn you on, have a passion in life, and work hard, because nobody's going to hand it to you. So I think that was sort of the quest for us. All my brothers and sisters, and there's 9 of us, so it's a huge family.
6 adopted, 5 from other countries?
Absolutely. I did have really exceptional parents, and we've all gone on to get college degrees, so it's definitely a generational thing. And probably several of us are entrepreneurs, probably not with the same interest that I have. And what I will caution everybody, and I say this all the time, is I've worked hard 18 years before I left to do my own concept for other people. And it's what I chose is not a hobby business. What I undertook is, and I worked hard for everybody, and I've still never worked harder. And the reality is getting through each of the critical stages we've had, and I still consider our business, which has some nice milestones under its belt, maybe toddlers ourselves. You know, we still have a lot in front of us to prove. And best ride, still feel like it's kind of a luxury to get to do a business that is your passion. But make no mistake, it's you know, I came back from D.C. yesterday from the opening and finished at about 2 a.m.
Right.
The night before. So
hard work.
Wow.
But worth it. Stay with us,
Indeed.
everybody. We'll be right back. We have a few more minutes. We're here for you. Stay with us. The phones. Time for one more caller. Tom is on the line from Robert's home state of North Carolina. Go ahead,
Tom, what's going on?
Hey, I like your show, guys. Thanks a lot for giving everybody great information. I've recently started an energy savings green business, and I want to know what I can do to get some funding to help get this business off the ground for advertising and everything else.
So you want funding for the advertising, or you want to find maybe some free advertising? Because we have some ideas for both.
Business capital in period in all.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would consider doing both, honestly. You know, you can raise capital to do hardcore advertising, which you can do. I would check out like Go Big Network, which has a ton of organizations that for green specific projects are helping you raise advertising dollars to do it. So check them out. In terms of I would actually prefer to, you know, or recommend that you go for some of the free stuff. Like I would go to Trevera.com. They have some outstanding ideas on how to get your information and your organization out there for free using social media. In terms of raising capital, the banks are doing it, but there's a ton of grants out there for this sort of thing, and they're populating on websites all the time. Grants.gov is one. Business.gov/finance is another one you can go to find out what sort of grants are available in this particular market.
Mark, you were trying to get in there. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say, let's be real about the way most of these businesses are funded. We call it the 3 Fs: friends, family, and fools. And those are the people who mostly invest in early stage business. It's your most likely funding source. Get yourself to a point where you can prove out a little bit more to get seed investment. Once you've got seed investment, then you can start to approach venture capitalists. But I think the Go Big Network also is a great suggestion. Will Schroeder, who founded that, is a phenomenal entrepreneur, and there's great resources there.
Do you have any?
I would say I totally agree. And even when I started Giggle, I stepped back and did that sort of very close friends and family first round. The thing I would add to that, before I went out with what I thought was my proof of model and raised money, what I would add to you is also be willing to do the investment that will be required for you to be credible to take other people's money down the road. And what I mean by that specifically is you may have to step into a lower paying opportunity. You may have to walk away from some compensation for a while. But if you have to put yourself at risk to do the idea and actually have something material you can show, that will pay back in dividends even when you're fundraising later at different stages, because it's partly how you prove your stripes as an entrepreneur, your willingness to have the sweat equity in the business, as well as if it's an area that you haven't really already done, it'll show that you've spent some time there, and so your capabilities within it.
What do you have to add, John?
I think that Allie is the best entrepreneur we've had on the show ever, and I think Mark is the best investor we've had. We should.
Can you come back every week?
Reconvene the panel.
No, we should.
Allie has a business to
break
run.
out Mark's pitch into a podcast, and we should send it to everybody. And Allie's experience and Mark's experience together are phenomenal.
Well, Mark is a multimedia VC. Mark, you probably already have a podcast. Have you put one?
Well, I do have one thing I'd point out. I do have a blog site. It's called Both Sides of the Table. Both Sides of the Table. Reason being, I'm a 2-time CEO and entrepreneur myself. I built 2 companies. I sold them. And I'm just starting to reblog again and put some of this advice out. And when Dagan had invited me on the show, I just wrote up the notes in advance, and you can reread them out there.
And I bet you, Mark, I bet you it's free for people, isn't it?
Right.
See,
of course it's free.
Paying for stuff is so 20th century. You've got to get somebody 25 years old near you if you're going to start a business who knows how to get all the stuff for free there is, because otherwise you're going to compete against somebody who's doing that, and you're going to get killed.
Yeah, and it's an example of becoming the expert in something before you go out and try and start a business and building that credibility.
Danny and John, Allie Wing,
Thank you so much.
Giggle, Visit the Stores, and Mark Suster of GRP. Thank you. We're back come Monday.